Okay, guys, rain, sleet, or snow, we still got more information to get into. So, the first thing I want to post here is a post from Brad Kimes, and he was responding to a Squawk CNBC article. And the Squawk, I'm not familiar with what Squawk is, but I'm assuming it's a news and money thing. But Squawk is quoted here saying, well, they're quoting Jim Cramer here, and he's saying, "We're not just seeing a recession. We're seeing what we need to see, which is a legitimate slowdown. I think ultimately a slowdown in inflation. I'd celebrate this," says Kramer. "There will be no Armageddon." I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but still, well, yes, I did. That's a lie. Listen, and then Brad Combs responded by saying, "Jim Cramer says he doesn't see a recession." Well, that settles that. We're definitely getting a recession. And I had to post this because it blows my mind that somebody like Jim Cramer has a job, and the fact that people like Jim Cramer always have a job, to me that alone should let you know that none of these platforms care about you. None of these platforms care about you. Like you can't. This guy has a track record of getting things wrong. And honestly, at this point, I don't think he's getting it wrong just because, he had good intentions, but he just got it wrong. No, I think he's getting it wrong just because, like him and whoever's controlling him, they want people to buy in at all-time highs and to panic when everything is... They want people to panic and sell when things are going in a bad direction, when things need to be bought, and they want people to buy when they need to be panicking. Like you really just have to go with the opposite of whatever these type of people in the mainstream. You have to go with the opposite of whatever narrative they're pushing. So next story I want to get into here, it is from Watcher.guru, and it says, "Just in, court filings reveal Three Arrows Capital owes $3.5 billion to 27 different crypto companies." And I had to do some research about Three Arrows real quick because I'm not familiar with them. But once I got a little more information about them, like what they did was pretty stupid. Like it seemed they made a whole bunch of like silly mistakes, and some of the mistakes I'm still a little mind boggled as to how they got away with, because like they're tied, for you guys who don't know, like they've taken out a whole bunch of loans. Some of those loans were over collateralized. Some of them were under collateralized. They have ties. They've borrowed money from Voyager. They borrowed money from who else? Avalanche. They've borrowed money from Terra. They've had money tied in with Terra Luna. Like they got ties to Grayscale, and it's just mind blowing to me just how many people or how many companies they're tied to. And how many companies were willing to give them just absurd amounts of money? Like even BlockFi too, another one. Like I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was either BlockFi or Voyager gave them like a loan of like 600 million. Like I'm like, how do you even do that? Like some of these platforms that are loaning them money, I don't even know if these platforms loan money. But another post I wanted to get to right underneath that was when Watcher.guru posted a article calling out the fact that the Three Arrows Capital founders spent approximately $50 million on a yacht. Despite owing all this money, they are out here buying yachts. And I've also seen like some reports alleging that they may have like disappeared and fled the country or whatever. Like it's just a shame. It really is a shame, like how many of these people are like just straight up scammers, and they get into these powerful positions. But more often than not, they're not the main ones suffering consequences. It's usually the investors. But the SEC will not go after people like this, or if they do, it'll be way after the fact. But they're worried about a company like Ripple or a company like LBRY. So next story I want to get into here is a story. It's a post from the Wall Street Journal calling out Gary Gensler. Well, like the post is kind of calling out Gary Gensler. It says, "The U.S. capital markets are the world's envy. Gary Gensler's job as a chairman of the SEC is to protect and promote them. Instead, he's attacking them. And the person who wrote that article, I believe it says Hal Scott and John Gulliver and Stuart LBRY also posted a quote from that says Congress and the courts need to rein him in. So it's interesting that you're seeing that there's just a little bit of momentum kicking in of people acknowledging the fact that Gary Gensler's a failure and that the SEC doesn't care about investors' best interests. Like, that's clearly not the goal here. And that's also what makes it the most frustrating, when you're seeing these companies sit here and pretend like they have your best interests at heart and they're here to protect you, but all they do is things that just sabotage you, things that end up screwing you over. So next story I want to get into is it's a post from the attorney James K. Fallon, where it says, in the LBRY case, because I'm sure many of you know that LBRY has also been dealing with the issues with the SEC as well. In the LBRY case, the SEC has filed a motion to exclude the opinion and testimony of LBRY's expert. LBRY, like the official account, they responded to that and said, our experts' analysis showed, and this is important, our experts' analysis showed a higher portion of LBC transactions. LBC is LBRY's it's their cryptocurrency. A higher portion of our expert analysis showed a higher portion of LBC transactions were used for their intended non-speculative purpose, more than Ethereum's transactions. The SEC really did not like that. And Jeremy Hogan responded to that by saying the report seems pretty damning for the SEC, hence the motion to exclude it. And of course it looks damning. Like, that's embarrassing, because again, everybody, and I said this in another video, people are tired of Ethereum, because it is clear as day that it was set that Hinman speech was set up to give Ethereum a free pass and to put all these other projects at a disadvantage. And so now the SEC is trying to screw over one company after the next, and now you're seeing more and more companies stand up and they're pointing to Ethereum and they're saying, listen, if you're not willing to call them out, if you're not willing to do anything for what they did, Ethereum probably has the most famous ICO of all time. Mind you, I don't even think Ethereum really should be considered a security. I don't think any crypto should be considered a security. But if there was gonna be one, it would have to be Ethereum. But yet the SEC refuses to acknowledge that. And you know why they can't acknowledge it. They can't acknowledge it because they know if they do, they'll be in very big trouble, because that kills any legitimacy of any case that they brought out so far. So, so shout out to LBRY. I'm still trying to get more familiar with LBRY. I know they got the Odyssey website. I'm still in the process of setting up like a couple of channels on Odyssey. So I really want to get that going soon too. So I might keep everybody here posted if anybody's interested in it. And next story I want to get to here is also from James K. Fallon. And it says, in the LBRY case, the court has granted the parties' joint motion to continue the trial date. The trial is set for a 2-week period beginning October 4th, 2022, before Judge Paul J. But yeah, so it's interesting that the SEC and LBRY case is probably gonna get started before the Ripple one. Somebody and people in the comment section also pointing out that same thing. But either way, I'm wishing LBRY the best. I hope they win. I hope they don't end up having to suffer consequences for something they don't deserve. Next story here is a quote from it's Peter Voss posting a link to a story quoting John Deaton, where John Deaton is saying Failure to sue Jed McCaleb for selling 9 billion XRP shows SEC's claims against Ripple are illegitimate. And how many people have been bringing up this same point? Like the SEC, and that's why, like yesterday when I saw that video clip of the guy, the former commissioner from the SEC, bragging about them being 94-0, I'm like, at the end of the day, like he's talking with the confidence as if they just have these bulletproof cases, when in many cases, no, they're just picking on people who don't have enough money to fight back. Because with these companies that actually have enough money to fight back, they very easily can poke holes in the SEC's argument. How can you sue Brad Garlinghouse and I'm sorry, I forgot the other guy's name off the top of my head. I was drawing a blank. But how could you sue, the two guys who are currently heading Ripple, but then you don't want to sue Jed McCaleb, the guy who is one of the actual people who created it in the first place? Like, that doesn't make any bit of sense. Now, I don't think Jed should really, suffer any consequences, but I don't think like Brad Garlinghouse or Chris Larson. See, Chris Larson, that's now his name came back to my head. But I don't know how the SEC is hypocritical to ignore Ethereum and their ICO, ignore Jed McCaleb selling billions of dollars worth of XRP, but then you're targeting Brad Garlinghouse, Chris Larson, and the company Ripple. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So next story I want to get into here, it's a post from Michael Branch. Well, it's him posting an article, and it says, he said the SEC's objections telling why XRP holders shouldn't participate in the case is due tomorrow. John Deaton, the lawyer of the token holders, will be responding to that by Monday. He will be convincing the court why they should join the lawsuit. And it's an article here from CoinGate.com. And the title is, Will XRP holders join Ripple versus SEC lawsuit? Here's what the court says. Excuse me. Hopefully they do let us join. I'm gonna be extremely transparent right now. I'm hoping that we all get like a big cash settlement, because at the end of the day, we were screwed over here. We did suffer damages. We did lose a bunch of money, a bunch of value in an asset and an investment that we made for no good reason. This was clearly a situation drowning in corruption. So it's yet to be seen, but I'm still interested to see how that plays out. Next story I want to get into here is, this is just a post from somebody called Moonchaser, and it's just reiterating a point that many of us have been making, which is Ripple has spent over $100 million fighting the SEC and their flip-flopper stance on the infamous Hinman speech, whereby clarity on BTC and ETH was given, despite Ethereum's well-publicized ICO. You may not like Ripple, but their war chest is literally holding the line for all of crypto. And I think that's extremely important, because there's a lot of people who clearly don't like Ripple, whether it's because they're threatened by it or whatever. Either way, they don't like it, but they're not paying attention to the bigger picture. Like, there were people back in 2020 when Jay Clayton filed for the lawsuit before he left. There were people who were like celebrating and laughing as if somehow this is only gonna affect them. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's gonna affect everybody. So last story I want to get into here. This is not a crypto story. This is just a money story, or what I consider a money and stock related story. And I got this from Weon, the international news platform Weon. And it says, Apple plans to slow down hiring and spending next year. So it's a very interesting story. Just talking about how Apple, they're claiming nothing's going wrong. They're claiming everything is still good, but they're also claiming that several of their teams are gonna need to expect a lower than expected budget next year, and they're gonna slow down the amount of money they spend on research and development and stuff like that. And they also are supposed to be putting out a quarterly earnings report. I believe it's July 28th. So I think that's interesting. Me personally, I think that's just another sign that we are in a recession, because of course Apple's not going to admit that they're in financial trouble, but that doesn't sound good when you're saying already, look, next year we're going to have to spend a lot more money, and this is a billion or $1 trillion company. So again, we are going to have to wait to see. But let me know what your thoughts are on all this. What do you think Jim Cramer is right when he says he doesn't see a recession coming? Do you think Three Arrows Capital will suffer any consequences after they liquidate all their assets, because the court's ordering them to liquidate everything? Do you think Apple slowing down is a bad sign for us? Let me know what your thoughts are on all these things in the comment section below.